What would an actual mouse make of all this biker mice from Mars business? Do they secretly yearn to ride motorcycles, have patches all over their denim sleeveless jackets, listen to 70s rock music, and act as security at Donald Trump rallies? Is that what you want, mouse? Is it? Do you want a glorious flowing mousy skullet down your back while you wear a bandana over the top of it? Is that what you want? Do you want a bottle of tabby in a bar? I bet you do, but you can't. And until you can, you'll just have to play Konami's Biker Mice from Mars on the Super Nintendo. No, you can't do that either, can you? With your little hands. Pathetic. Biker Mice from Mars debuted on US television in September 1993. It aired in the UK on Channel 4 in 1994. It was even part of the Big Breakfast. Do you know, I can still recite the Big Breakfast address, while much more recent and important facts get neglected and forgotten within minutes. Even like important parts of my job. It's ridiculous. My brain is ridiculous. Anyway, it goes like this. 2 Lockkeepers Cottages, Old Ford Lock, London E32NN. Absolutely pointless information. Biker Mice from Mars was created by Richard Ungar, who headed up the Marvel production studio that gave us this and that X-Men cartoon with that theme under his stewardship. Da-na-na-na-na-dee-da, da-na-na-na-na-dee-da. You know the one. He would later go on to host a US political show bearing his name, which is a curious career path for a fella who came up with crime-fighting alien mice on bikes. Biker Mice, yes, no doubt inspired by the success of that other anthropomorphic animal show, you know, the one with the martial arts tortoises. Well, yeah, along with many, many others at the same time. Well, it was a reasonable success, lasting 3 seasons. And then it had a comeback show 10 years later in 2006. Throttle, Modo and Vinny are the 3 vermin protags, and they are the sole survivors of an invasion of Mars by the sinister Plutarchians. In their escape from their home world, they are shot down by their enemies and they crash land in Chicago, where they meet feisty yet charming lady sidekick Charlene Charlie Davidson. Charlie Davidson, do you see what they did there? They soon discover an underground sect of capitalist monster Plutarchians disguised as humans who are hell-bent on stealing the Earth's resources in a similar manner to what happened to that big red rock that Elon Musk wants to die on. They don't like that, do our valiant and moody rodents, so they seek to protect their new home at all costs from those absolute bastards. And so with that follow 65 episodes and adventures indeed that feature guest stars like Star Trek's Michael Dorn, Beverly Hills 90210's alumni like Tori Spelling, Jason Priestley and Luke Perry, Mark Hamill, you know, the Star Wars guy who loves an animation paycheck, and renter posh villain with good diction David Warner. Toys were made and sold, just not as many as those Ninja Turtles, and video games were also made and also sold. The one we're covering today is of course one of those, but there was also a European exclusive pair during the series' comeback show in 2006 for the Nintendo DS and the PlayStation 2. Both are not very good, and you probably shouldn't play them. The Super Nintendo game, though, it was released in the US in December 1994 and in Europe in 1995. There are differences between the two because in Europe, Snickers plastered the game with adverts for their poor man's Star Bar product, whereas US folks just had to cope with the advert for toys that is the game itself. A Mega Drive version was also planned, but then was sadly binned. Sorry, Sega dudes. See, I'm saying dudes because it sounds all radical. Konami elected to go all in on the biker element of the title as opposed to mice on Mars suffocating due to a lack of oxygen. I do hope they make a sequel one day that features trying to avoid suffocating as a mouse as a play mechanic. However, in this game we are in isometric racing game territory here. And yes, it is very much in the RC Pro-Am and particularly rock and roll racing stable of games. You can select from the 3 main mice, Throttle, Modo and Vinny, along with 3 of the series' most insidious gits in Limburger, Grease Pit and Carbuncle. God, they sound like arseholes, don't they, those names? Each of the participants has different attributes. They each have their own unique weaponry and their own specialist ability, with Carbuncle having the longest jump and Vinny having the firmest grip. You try and tell anyone in polite society that you like playing with a mouse because it's got the firmest grip, and see where that gets you, probably getting a cross letter from the RSPCA. Each race is weapon smattered chaos, and if your chosen racer ends up doing well enough, you'll have a bit of dollar to improve your vehicle in the workshop for the next race. You can adorn your vehicle with more weaponry, engine and other upgrades that you so wish. I heartily recommend you make yourself a menace to those other road users. Go on, you've earned it. And don't you worry, the other road users will be definitely souping up their vehicles too. The idea of each level, well, Grand Prix, is that you finish in the top 3 so you qualify for the next stage. This game is firmly in rock and roll racing territory, albeit with a Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic rather than the dad rock one of rock and roll racing. Perhaps your first thought will be that it doesn't control quite as intuitively as Interplay's classic metal music Motorama. It is different from that and rock and roll racing, as no matter which direction the bike will always steer in the same way. That doesn't sound weird, but it does feel weird at first. After a couple of laps, your brain will auto-adjust to its unusual scheme though, and actually the quick lane change buttons being set to L and R add an extra level of fluidity to your steering. All your weapons will replenish on a lap-by-lap basis, which will result in you relying on hammering your character's ability as much as your riding skill. Yes, this is pretty egregious in things like Mario Kart, but here it is whole new levels of button mashery to get you into a better position on the track. A real leveler in this game is the course-specific power-up. This is also replenished at the end of each lap and will give you a nitro or money to spend in the shop between levels. However, if you're doing particularly badly, it will definitely give you a little Blue Shell-esque leg up with a nitro, the power of invincibility for a short time, an earthquake that will slow down your opponents, or best of all, a clock that just stops them dead for about 5 seconds. This is perhaps where Biker Mice loses a little bit more ground to its more illustrious forebears. That was more skill-based, along with its course design not being quite as coherent. Some walls and environmental hazards, particularly the fans, seemingly spring out of nowhere on your first playthrough, and the amount of firepower being exchanged in the middle of the pack of racers could see you go from a solid first to a frustrating last from that one single mistake. And it can do that very often unless you're completely comfortable with the course layouts. Now, 2-player modes do extend the fun, and you really should see more people, so grab another controller, grab a buddy and sit them down, squire. You can play Biker Mice from Mars and then discuss each other's hopes and dreams and maybe kiss for a while. That's on you if you do that bit. Depends how close you are. Graphically, well, it's 16-bit Konami, so you're getting gorgeous graphics whether you like it or not. That said, as bright and colourful as they are, there's no Mode 7 flash trickery, so the look is pretty but perfunctory. It's smooth, and there's plenty of variety across the stages, and you know what? I think that's the main thing with a game like this. And what with it being a 16-bit Konami game, you get 16-bit Konami music, and that can never be a bad thing. It's amazing how easy it is to tell a game's music has been done by Konami. It just has that sound, doesn't it? It's simple stuff, this game. It's occasionally teeth-jarringly difficult, but it's a fun, underrated gem. So find the nearest mouse and sellotape it to a motorcycle. Why don't you? It's what they want, I think. CMVG said that the racetracks do not have enough obstacles to make the game particularly interesting or varied, and they gave it a 68% in their January 1995 issue. GamePro liked it a little bit more in their March 1995 issue. They said it had good gameplay, cool characters, easy control and variety. The biker mice will be taking the checkered flag back to Mars. Hey GamePro, that planet is dead. All their friends are dead. You monsters. Why would they want to go back there? Next up, let's get all World Cuppy and see what the Hurricanes have to offer. No, not Harry Kane. The Hurricanes. Their championship spirit is here to stay, whereas Harry Kane never wins anything. Sorry, Tottenham fans, that seems like a sly dig. Like, subscribe, and Kay, thanks, bye.